Hello everybody and welcome to Round Few Reviews, here with another Japanese deep dive and a wonderful collection from Radiance Films, which have delivered something quite special in terms of the UK audience for this fantastic Takashi Miike's Underworld Chronicles collection, which features 3 wonderful films which I have not seen. 3 films have been on the list for such a long time now that I really want to check out, and I'm so glad that I got this as a part of a birthday gift from my siblings. Which is really, really cool. So you do get the wonderful booklet there. You get the 2 additional films on Blu-ray with new transfers, loads of new extras. And of course, you do get the main film for today, which is Fudoh, The Next Generation, which is the first time they've done a 4K edition, I believe, of the director. Is available in terms of the US, but the other ones have exclusive rights already and they have separate Blu-ray editions. So this is the UK exclusive in terms of presenting all 3 films together with a booklet. I have done an unboxing. If you want to check out more detail in terms of this edition, there will be a link in the description below for that. Never seen any of these films, including the 2 on the edition itself. And this director in general, I've just not seen much of his filmography, and he's done over 100 plus movies, direct to kind of video on demand, v cinema lineup, did a load of movies back then for TV as well, and then started to get more theatrical releases around about this time. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the first ones that did so well in terms of the rushes, as he mentioned in the introduction of the video, that the actual production company gave him more money to get this to be a theatrical release, give him the 35mm prints, and said, hey, whatever you're doing, whatever you're cooking, it's pretty fun. So here you go, here's more money, here's more, real, essentially, go make this a theatrical experience. He talks about in the 5-minute introduction of the film from a modern 2026, done by kind of Radiance Films, how this was a celebration of, it wasn't necessarily a commercial film, it was based on a manga that got cancelled, so he had free range to do whatever he wanted with the material. He showed this in the States in terms of midnight. The audience went completely wild back in the 90s. It was just from his perspective and his discussion of the film that it's one of his favorite films in terms of just making it, having so much fun day in, day out with the cast and crew. Not only done a brand new restoration, but done a 4K disc included, is absolutely incredible, including a load of archival special features with that brand new introduction as well. It's given the 5-star treatments that Radiance absolutely love to give, and brand new artwork as well, which I really, really enjoy, as you can see there. And I do believe you do get the original poster as well, which is pretty cool. So I'm pretty torn between this new style. But for today's video, we're talking about Fudoh, The Next Generation, released in 1926. This was his kind of peak in terms of the kind of the theatrical run. I believe he did a couple of movies before this in terms of theatrical run, and now he was really starting to build himself up and doing these more bigger, kind of more bombastic kind of Yakuza films, leading into something like Audition later on. And this film was insane, absolutely insane, and I absolutely loved every second of it. This was incredible. This was a breath of fresh air. This was the 90s injection in my veins. I could not even guess what was going to happen in this film. In terms of being based on a manga, that makes no never mind to me. Sometimes that can work, sometimes it doesn't. And I think the biggest problem with a lot of Japanese cinema can be when they're doing based on manga adaptations, or even when Hong Kong cinema tries to dip their toe into it, is finding a tone, is finding characters you can actually enjoy watching, finding an energy, a kind of a story, something that you can actually ground yourself with. You can do all the crazy, bombastic, kind of, really out there kind of wild ideas, but you also still got to have a sense of an anchor. You got to have something that you can keep holding on to, that you can just kind of observe the craziness as you go on this Willy Wonka chocolate factory ride. This film has it. This is a very, very nice hour and 38-minute film. And I fucking loved all of it. I thought it was just so fun. So fun, the fact that I really wanted to watch it again after finishing it. And I don't know if it's just, I just had such a good time watching it. I don't know if it was the right energy for me at the time, in terms of just a nighttime viewing just before going to sleep. I just loved everything about it. I just thought it was super, super creative. I knew nothing about the manga. In terms of the story, it's super simple as well. Very simple in terms of a Japanese Yakuza revenge storyline. Essentially, you've got a son, main character here, which witnesses his brother being decapitated by his own father, who basically messed up at a deal at the start of the film. So basically there was some sort of international kind of incident with the North Korea, and essentially someone had to pay the price. The Yakuza Council, the Grand Council, basically demanded blood, and they wanted someone responsible to be at it. And essentially the father just said, hey, okay, well, I'm going to have to sacrifice my son. And he's willing to basically chop his own son's head off and display it to them to show his fealty, to show his loyalty. Straight up killed him. And basically his second son witnessed the whole thing to the point where he basically tattooed his own brother's blood inside of him, and then raised himself up, built himself up another 10 years. This is the 10-year anniversary of his brother's death, to basically get revenge on not just his father, but the entire council as well. And that's what the kind of first kind of hour roughly of the film is, essentially killing off all those council members in crazy, delightful, just out there kind of ways. You know, basically him setting up a kind of a task force of kids, a bunch of assassins, different skill sets, women who can do some pretty extraordinary things with basically blow darts. I'll leave it as that. Pretty fun. Really fun. Kids that basically grew up with like kind of training, have gun training and explosives and use knives, and basically using a whole team, a 90s generation of team of young, up and coming kind of talent. And to give it credit, it works for the most part, because it is very disarming. The fact that you get a cup of coffee, you don't really expect much of it from a kid. The fact that kid goes up to you playing games and shoots you in the head, you don't really expect it. The fact that someone shoots you with a dart from a certain body part, you don't expect it from a strip club. It's just some very unique, very visually kind of out there kind of ideas, and it gets more crazy as it goes along. There is some really kind of wild characters in the film. There is even like a stepbrother that steps into the film, which wants to take out his own brother. Basically, this kind of constant battle of kind of maintaining power. And I love the line later on in the film, this idea of that no longer will the new generation pay for the sins of their kind of, from their parents, essentially, this idea of maintaining and gripping on power. And to the point where his own dad is so oblivious to his own son and so overconfident and doesn't even care about, killing his own kind of main firstborn 10 years ago. There's no sense of redemption or kind of heart to heart or anything. It's just straight up kind of, lunacy. And there's some pretty cool kind of unique action set moments in terms of guns or fighting, and just interesting kind of death sequences, and even some side storylines which go into some really kind of bizarre places, including telling someone their secrets. I'm not gonna go into it right now. Let's just leave it up. Yeah, it's just one of those films that you just have to see to believe. It's one thing telling you, it's another thing showing you. And if you're willing to take a gamble, pick up the edition, because from this film already, it is awesome. And I'm hoping that the other two films stack up as well, because I felt this film to be really well performed. I thought the performances are pretty good. I think it's pretty dark in places. It's pretty over the top and silly and wild. It's a bit of a dark comedy. It has some very exploitation kind of ideas, some very unique kind of, visual kind of language, and some of the cinematography in terms of its music. I think the music is pretty fun as well. It has a pretty manga kind of energy about it in terms of a 90s kind of rapping, but it doesn't go overboard to the point where it's unrecognizable in terms of that anchor, as I mentioned. It has a baseline storyline, a brother who wants revenge for his brother's death, and he wants to take out the council and his father. Simple as that. And you get to find out that journey throughout that entire runtime. And it is pretty goddamn fun. Some recognizable cast from his previous kind of filmography from before and after. So definitely a good, hey, another person kind of thing. And they did do 2 sequels to this, which is not directed by Takashi Miike, and I would recommend ignoring them. From what I've seen of it, do not bother. It is a very streamlined cash grab kind of sequels. Doesn't even feature the main cast, and just kind of ignores what made the first film so good. So just ignore 2 and 3. I don't think it's worth your time. There's a reason why they didn't include the bonus feature or something in the editions. So what are your thoughts and impressions on the film itself? What are your thoughts on the director? Do you have a favorite Takashi Miike's film? I'd love to know. Please comment down below. In the meantime, guys, I'm for reviews. Signing out.